We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. There was a nation living in peace and unity. Yeah. They are people with love and harmony. Oh, yeah. They saw greatness rise up to its purity. With another people of different culture, a different heritage, biased and oppressive. Oh, I see. A nation from trigger of Africa, rising with strength and might and power. In due time, nobody gonna praise us. Rather, you all gonna embrace her. With your flag, with your flag, with your flag, with your flag. Oh, yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. Oh yeah, Biafra is our home. Oh, it's my home. Yeah, Biafra is our home.
I reminisce way back 1967. Death toll and the blood couldn't count them even. Mama screaming, child squealing, pops on the ground. 2.5 years, over 3 million's gone. Why? Cause we asked for our freedom, and we're going back to our sovereign kingdom. They shut us down when we cried, the world said nothing. Sitting back in the crib, watching our suffering. Should I talk about the planes dropping shells like rain? Suka had the first taste of a hero's blood. Abagana Zobuni wave was stronger than flood, but the juke is too strong and fought them off on the chart. Thought the bloodshed's gone, then it came again. 216 and the massacre, it started again. So bloody name, I couldn't cry tears. Blood dripping down my eyes, water in my veins. We died trying to fight the cause and we're trying to break him. It's our freedom, but the world was against us.
Wave your flag over Africa. Welcome people of Biafra. Wave your flag over all the world. See those people of Zion is here.
It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion. It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. Yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. I see the rising sun from Africa. Oh, this is time of victory. Oh, yeah. I see future in Africa. Oh yeah, people have been outside. See light shining on the wall. Oh yeah.
What's that, Martin? We're not fighting each other. We know where we're going. We're going to get Biafra. There is nothing anybody can do about it. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. I need them to understand this. We've crossed the Rubicon, the point of no return. There is nothing anybody can do. If I'm alive, if I'm dead, if I'm wherever I may be, Biafra will come. If I'm dead, it's even better because it will come far more quicker. I can assure you. If Biafra is fighting for you, no one will touch your property. If you're fighting alone, you're bound to lose it. So Biafra is the best. We will become the 16th member country of ECOWAS. If Nigeria doesn't release those properties, then we'll take them to court and we'll get them back. Even twice the value. The Jews had investments all over the world. Most of the priceless artifacts and paintings belonged to many families in Germany. It was stolen by the Nazi Party. Do you know that? Eventually, they got everything back with compensation on top of it. That's what we're going to do. If you touch our investments, we'll come back for you, and we'll know where we can get it from. So there is nothing for anyone to worry about. It's only if I'm not stopping you from being a Nigerian. If you are born on the streets of Lagos and you want to be a Lagosian and your name is Adamma, oh well and good. There's no problem.
Onye si na agata anya ahụhụ ma ọ bụ na anyị fe arụsị anyị wee na-efe arụsị iwe were iwe gị na ọmụma gị wee bịa leta anyị ụmụ anyị wee na-anwụsị ụfọdụ nọ n'ụzọ ije ha anaghị alọta ụlọ ọzọ nne na nna wee na-ata ahụhụ wee na-ata ikikere eze nwaanyị konye ka ọ gaa ubi gaa rụọ ọrụ Fulani chiri ehi bata ebe ala ihe niile okwu ebepụghị isi anyị pụta anyị kpọpụ onye nwe anyị n'ugwu Awụsa ahụ ejide anyị wee gbuo ihe ọbụla anyị mara aka n'ime ha si maka ha gaa n'ihu elekwa ọdụ ụgbọ mmiri n'igwe ọcha bụ ememiri ọhịa nke dị na Kalaba otu aka ahụ anyị na-ala nsọ ebe Biafra bụ ndị kọstọm sokwenye anyị n'etiti anyị anọghị n'ime mmiri kama kọstọm juru ebe niile ha wee na-ata anyị ahụhụ anyị kwe sịpụta anyị ka kpọchie anyị kwe sịpụta anyị ka gbagbuo anyị onye nwe anyị na Chineke na nke bi n'igwe ọ bụ ụzọ dị anya ka isi na-ekwu ndị iro anyị n'anya wee karịa ndị nke gị akwa anyị bụ ụmụ Chineke akwa ọba aha anyị ka anyị na-aza akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza ike Chukwu akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza amara Chineke akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza Chisom akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza Chizoba nna nke dị nsọ onye ime eluigwe dịka otu onye iro dị na anyị bụ ụmụ gị bịa ka iwe zọpụta anyị bịa ka iwe napụta anyị n'aka ọjọọ ihe bịa ka iwe lụọrọ anyị ọgụ like you were did to a zoo. Oh, go and memory and Goliath. Chineke na nke igwe ruo memory na Pharaoh. She go to a man, ka Pharaoh comes on you home on the eye to the way to talk with your thoughts. Ega na edu anyị n'ụzọ niile nke ezi omume. Ọ bụla dị na anyị na-aga ndagwurugwu onyinye ọnwụ. Ọ bụ nwa bụ ekele n'igwe n'ụwa nwunye ọbụla kere gị n'oge malite n'oge ọgwụgwụ kama anyị onwe anyị gwa anọkwa ahụ ofu ụbọchị anyị ga-anwụ n'ezie kama ma akpọ na okwu gị na-anọgide ego ego mgbe ebighị ebi ọ bụ ya mere anyị ji were gị n'anya isi anyị wee na-asị nna nke dị nsọ bịa ka iwe gosi anyị Biafra na ndụ na abụghị n'ọnwụ bịa ka iwe na-ekebe gị na amara gị wee kpuchiri anyị ka uwe bịa ka iwe zọpụta ndị nke gị bịa ka iwe mee ka Biafra wee bịa ka anyị na-ewetụta na nsọpụrụ na ịja mma site na aha gị ma ibuchukwu nke abịa ma
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here to give you some very important updates. As we already yesterday, we could not be able to carry on our program because of some issues. So we are here to give you some very important updates that need to be paid attention to. So sit back and watch as Nigeria is crumbling. We will continue to update the world and continue to tell you what you need to know about the situation in the contraction called Nigeria. We need to follow up and know what is going on. If you don't know what is going on, you will not know what to follow. So listen and hear what is happening in the contraction called Nigeria. It is sad.
Good morning to everyone out there. Thank you all for starting your day with us. We begin what's trending in Sokoto State, where a new video is shocking users online as it captures the absolute desperate attempt of children, women, entire families, all struggling to squeeze onto a single truck after repeated attacks in the Bargaja village of Isa local government area. Now, the video circulating on X comes alongside new reports of terrorists attacking that same community around 1:30 a.m. on Sunday, killing 2 vigilantes who've been trying to stop the invasion altogether. Let's take a look. Now, 3 terrorists were killed in this attack, with people there saying that the terrorists even used a donkey to carry their comrades' bodies back into their forest hideouts. Now, the spokesperson for the Nigeria police force in Kebbi State, Ahmed Rufai, said that they're investigating the situation, but this video is hard to watch, and you also have to think this is happening during Ramadan. People are fasting. I'll take a quick tweet from Woody, who says that this is heartbreaking to watch. Families packing up what little they can carry, children in tow, leaving their homes because the bandits won't stop coming. If this is really happening right now in Sokoto, it's yet another damning sign that normalcy claims from officials are just empty words. I'm genuinely disappointed and angry that in 2026, we're still seeing entire villages forced to flee relentless attacks, with people loading trucks in colorful clothes like it's another sad migration rather than an escape from terror. This isn't just a local tragedy, it's a national failure that's been dragging for far too long. Meanwhile, travelers and workers around the Akure airport in Ondo State were thrown into temporary panic on Saturday after bandits or terrorists were caught in a joint security operation in the airport's vicinity. So here's what we know. This incident happened after residents in the area sounded the alarm after seeing men on motorcycles. But according to the statement you see from the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, 4 of them were soon after arrested during a joint security operation between both aviation and local security agencies. Then, you also had the Nigerian military troops of the Hadin Kai Task Force fighting back a different set of terrorists in another major shootout in Maiduguri, Borno State overnight. People there reported hearing loud explosions, with ISWAP targeting military camps, which were subsequently set on fire. But sources say the troops were quick to secure the area, leading to residents cheering the troops on as they fought back. Let's take a look. So, Dr. Vati, I'll start with you on this. Taking these 3 stories together, they show how tactically forces can respond to terrorists, but also what happens when there's a lack of military presence and vigilantes and citizens are essentially forced to save their own lives, like we saw in that first video.
Well, number one, Operation Adenkai, I think working in collaboration in that axis with the African troops that were sent to support to collaborate with Nigeria in the war against terror. So it's good to see that in that axis, at least, the Operation Adenkai is getting results. But what the other 2 stories tell us, however, is the challenge that this, war against terror, insurgency, or banditry, has become. It's a protracted, struggle for the Nigerian government, whether you call it national freedom or it's a national challenge. But the good thing is that both the military and the Nigerian government, even at the subnational level, seem determined to put an end to it. And it's a war that is winnable, by way of encouraging the security agencies and governments at all levels to continue to focus upon it until this environment becomes really safe for all of us. Now, it's very sad that, the people in the Bagaja village in the local government area in Sokoto have to run away from their own, homes because of attack by terrorists, by bandits. Now, this is not the first village in Nigeria where people would be displaced. The cost is always in terms of displacement, in terms of agony for the people. But in this particular place, we understand that the people of that village, the vigilantes, they have a strong reputation for repelling attacks by the bandits. And that happened in this particular case. 3 of the bandits reportedly lost their lives, and then there were also casualties on the part of the people. But the displacement has a lot of implications: economy, family life, and this is why the effort at battling this challenge must be sustained and must be continuous. Now, what I find curious in this story is that the spokesperson of the police in Kebbi says they are investigating. They want to know exactly what happened. What other accurate information are they looking for when people have deserted their villages and the bandits not only killed, the ones that were killed among them, they took them away. So where was the police? Knowing that this is a notorious axis for terror and banditry operation. Now, after the fact, the police is saying we are going to do investigation. Anyway, the other story from Ondo State. Now, there have been issues around Akure North. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, people around the Akure North had to go onto the streets to protest that they need protection. Also, the same problem towards the north, Akoko North and Akoko Northwest. But in this particular case, you were reading a letter by a statement by the FAN, the Aviation Authority. Now, one major solution that they've been talking about has been providing perimeter fencing for our airports across the country. There was once on one occasion when, in fact, bandits on motorcycles, took over the runway somewhere in the north. Now, who would have expected? This incident, I think, occurred about 2 years ago. Who would have expected that by now there would have been, serious work done and all these airports should not be exposed in such a way that, people will be loitering, criminals will be, loitering around the Akura airport. That Akura airport, I was there recently. When I saw the story, I said, bandits, loiter around the airport. So that again makes us so vulnerable. So security, safety, these are the main things, about aviation, about airport premises. And I think government should just focus on that and keep the promise that it had made previously. Absolutely. To make our airports safe.
Absolutely. There's always fear, around traveling already, so this added layer does not help that situation. Let's now head to talk about Nigeria's foreign relations, with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration revealing new details about this much-anticipated historic UK-Nigeria state visit, where in just about 24 hours from now, President Tinubu and the First Lady Oluremi Tinubu will land at the airport in the UK for the first state visit between both countries in 37 years. Now, this anticipation, excitement already being seen on the streets of London with this new video, showing the Nigerian flag alongside the British one on High Street, right by Windsor Castle. In a new statement out on Sunday, the President's senior special assistant on media, Temitope Ajayi, says that while in the UK, the president will also meet with the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. He'll also attend a private sector business summit with both Nigerian and British business leaders. We've also seen reports that it's Princess Kate and Prince William who will be the first members of the royal family to welcome the president and the First Lady. They'll later be joined by King Charles III and Queen Camilla for a horse-drawn carriage procession to Windsor Castle. But beyond the pageantry and the symbolism of this meeting is the fact that people will be watching for tangible outcomes. The stakes are high, and I think that Nigeria has just been under a microscope of sorts when it comes to how we deal with security and what the West is sort of saying about the way we handle our business. Ayo.
Okay, so it's exciting times for Nigeria, especially with this historic visit in over 3 decades. We haven't seen a Nigerian leader be hosted by our British, counterparts now. But I think very importantly, like you hit the nail at the very end, is that I don't want us to get carried away with the pomp and pageantry, because there's a purpose for these visits. It's not just for the President and the First Lady to be welcomed by King Charles III and visit Windsor Castle and be, on horse-drawn carriage. It's what is in it for Nigerians at the end of the day, because if we're going to spend money on this, But two things I'll just mention very quickly. Number one is unlocking capital in terms of attracting investors. This is an opportunity for the president to make a good case for his recent economic reforms and macroeconomic wins. His talk around Nigeria is now an investor haven based on some of the policy directions of his administration, and to see how that can result in tangible wins. What we often say is that when he goes for these meetings, what did he bring back for businesses, for the economy, for FDIs, foreign direct investments into the Nigerian economy? That would be a major win. The second thing would then be also the business summit you talked about, to see how we can, Nigerian businesses abroad and our diaspora communities, and see how even in arts, culture, which the president has talked about, hugely during his tenure, to see how we can leverage that and work together. Also, for businesses in Nigeria, exporting some of the, the waivers, tariff waivers for businesses in developing countries, to see how we can deepen that so that our British counterparts. Those are the kinds of things that we want to see. Right. More tangibles than the optics, pictures and the likes. That's what we want to see. But it's a good outing. It's good for our, diplomatic relationship with the United Kingdom. It's good for, the fact that Nigeria has been in the news for bad things around, this, Christian genocide, insecurity on the international scene. It will be great to see how we relate with our partners, particularly in the global, north. I think it's important, and we look forward to seeing the details. Like I said earlier on, our Rise News will be on ground and bringing details of the outcome. But what we want to see is tangibles.
Absolutely. All roads lead to Windsor Castle.
And the footnote is as follows. The Ministry of Solid Minerals, I think yesterday, issued a statement saying that there is a plan by a certain group, Jupiter Limited, they call it, to embarrass President Tinubu in the UK. The statement was talking about the revocation of mining licenses, and now the Ministry of Solid Minerals has issued a statement to say whatever was done by the ministry, that the law is no respecter of persons, and that those licenses were revoked, on firm grounds. I don't think they should stop at just issuing a statement at all. I want to assume that already the Thames Valley Police that is in charge of this security during this visit by the President of Nigeria will have been duly informed, because, I thought the people who used to stage protests and embarrass Nigeria on the streets of London, I thought they had settled those ones with ambassadorial posting. So these ones, if they have their grievances, they should channel it through legitimate channels, not by embarrassing the President.
Right. So yes, like we said, Rise News will be there in London to cover this historic visit as President Tinubu embarks on the state visit. And we talked about the president, but let's now talk about his son. By heading to Owerri, Imo State, where online people are reacting en masse to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's son, Sheyi Tinubu, and his wife, Layal, touching down for the renewed Hope Youth Engagement Tour for an empowerment event for the president's re-election campaign. Now, the couple was seen arriving at the venue where sewing machines, fridges, and we have video of this, laptops, fertilizers, other items were all given out to residents in a bid to foster economic independence, to foster development, with one recipient trending online for her excitement around all of it. Let's take a look.
Oh my God, oh my children, we work for you, we work for you, we work for you, we work for you.
Yes, it's the dancing for me. I mean, the event turned chaotic. We also saw some large crowds running in different directions that we played earlier. But I think what's interesting about this is that clearly people are excited about, these new items that they're receiving Rufai. But at the same time, I saw a tweet where someone was saying, okay, these people now have fridges and freezers, but where's the electricity to actually power them? I mean, what do you make of these?
We have to do How
are they powering these fridges?
No, they will do another one. They will do like this one way for will cost so for this Iran one. They will do another one. That one you will just share solar panel. a fridge, and a generator. No, not generator, solar panel to be able to empower people. But that's the chaos Nigeria's become. At first, when you look at it on the face of it, this is all political. I went through the lineup of those that spoke there. Now, even the Minister of Youth did speak there. So this is APC heavy politics. Yes, you can do it, you can be altruistic. But the question we keep asking is, politicians, with whose money are you doing it? The same money you ought to use to make life better for the people. The same money that if you spend it on them, they will not need to be giving handouts of fridges and all of that. So the way it works is that politicians will use the same resource that's supposed to be for the people, and they give them a smidge amount of them. It just reminds me of the Soviet Union, where I think it was Stalin that was saying that I think they did an experiment where they said that Stalin took a chicken, he pulled out the feathers of the chicken while the chicken was still alive. The chicken was in a lot of pain. And while the chicken was in a lot of pain and really from the pain, they poured corn on the ground for the chicken, and the chicken still ate the corn. That's exactly what is happening with Nigeria. Political class, they get into power because they want to grab the resource of the state for their own selves and their friends. The biggest beneficiaries are not even people from their tribal groups. They are people from other countries. They get in there when they get the resource of the state, then they give the people small things when it's election period, rather than making the lives of people better. That's why the people must be able to open their eyes and be wary of gifts across all politicians. Because it's going to be time for gifts. They're going to bring out all these gifts to be able to dissuade you. But ask the accountability questions of what are these people going to do to make your life better. If your lives are better, you don't need any handouts.
Right.
You don't need any gifts of such. You just want a society that works for all. And that should be the priority. So, but also the other side of the story is that because this rowdy session was first blamed on the Village Boys movement.
Right.
But the Village Boys have now actually brought out a statement diplomatic that they don't have the.
I saw some people carrying 2 items. Those ones look like Village Boys.
The official Village Boy movement, they are not part of this one.
They said they don't have an hand in it, so that the city boy are there. But be it city boy, be it village boy, we are all victims of the poverty and the suffering in Nigeria.
Right.
That's been generational. And how can we break that cycle? Leadership.
Absolutely. Very important. And we'll keep watching, what develops out of that. So let's now take our next story from Edo State, with the state's police command saying that they've officially begun a formal investigation into an incredibly disturbing incident which shows a violent physical assault of a student, all captured on video, at Igbinidion Secondary School. Now, this video started trending on Friday, with people online reacting in shock and horror, as students were seen at one point kicking, beating, and dragging a boy across the floor, with more videos coming out showing more assaults the following day. Let's take a look. Awful. In a statement on Friday, the school said that the students responsible were immediately expelled. But this video has triggered a ton of outrage online, resurfacing conversations around violence in schools, how to protect students. But in the meantime, the parents of one of the boys who was beating his fellow student, identified as Choice Asoro, have now issued an apology in a statement on Sunday, calling that video one of the most distressing and heartbreaking experiences of their lives as parents. The father, Tim Asoro, writes in part, and I'll read from that statement, "No child deserves to be treated in such a manner, and as parents, we cannot begin to imagine how frightening and hurtful that moment must have been for him. Our hearts go out to him and to his family." We offer our most sincere apology to them. This incident has brought our family immense pain, reflection, and as parents, we've spent many sleepless hours asking ourselves difficult questions and confronting the reality that our son made a serious mistake that has hurt another child and disappointed many. Since this came to our attention, we've had very serious emotional discussions with him. He's expressed remorse and regret for his actions and understands that what happened has consequences not only for himself, for another child, and for the school. And he kind of goes on, but I'll come to you on this and anyone else who wants to comment, because it's one thing to see the video, but it's another to get a parent's response and have them have that moment of recognizing that they maybe don't know their son as well as they think they knew him. How are you reacting?
Okay, so the first thing is it's good to see. First of all, that video is triggering for a number of people because we talked about the menace of bullying, and unfortunately, I recall the young boy or money that was killed or that died, or even though that story is wrong, but we've seen the effects of bullying. And we know how damaging it can be, not just in the immediate but long term. For those who've been bullied, you understand what I'm saying. But number two is that while I am glad that there's a sense of ownership and responsibility by the family of the boy, it also paints a picture. Number one is that we've talked about lack of morals and family values in our society today, where we see children, particularly from very wealthy homes, who do not have that, who are not grounded in terms of home training. That can be one example. And then what happens when you don't train your children up is that you now start giving apologies and being embarrassed later on in the future. So it's a note of warning. So parents, please look at your children so that they don't become a menace. On the other hand, so I don't sound judgmental, there are some children that were actually taught but refuse to take the training and are a consistent source of embarrassment to their family members. Until there are difficult consequences for such children, they'll continue to think that life is like this. They do things they shouldn't and they continue to do rubbish. If the child is over 18, he's no longer a child, he's an adult who can face consequences. And if the victim and his family want to sue for grievous bodily harm, they could actually do so. And he could, if he's found guilty, face some much needed time. There are some people that it is not family discipline that is required anymore. Having done this to another human being, we need to make an example of them because we have had too many cases of bullying. Some people face bullying in primary, go to secondary, then in private institutions where your parents have paid a lot of money, hopeful that you get the best chance in education and life, you are beaten by your fellows. Right. So I applaud the family for doing this, but sometimes it's too late, and maybe there should be consequences so that we can begin to see we can deter boys and girls from bullying their fellows in school. If we don't have examples and consequences, we'll continue to see this, and we don't just want apologies anymore.
Absolutely. That is unacceptable.
Police are investigating. We should get to know the outcome of that investigation. Bullying is not acceptable, whether they are boarding students or they are day students.
Right, absolutely.
And the other families who said what are involved should also issue an apology.
Absolutely, we'll be looking for those, But let's not end on a negative note. Let's take our good news report now. With the internet celebrating a Nigerian American student, Oluwamodupe Oloyede, who has just joined the Beta Alpha chapter of the prestigious Black sorority.
Reporting from the front line often requires more than just a camera and a microphone. Here in Borno State, safety precautions such as wearing a bulletproof vest are part of the reality for journalists covering the insurgency. In some cases, movement to certain locations is carried out with military helicopters, including the use of landmines and improvised explosive devices along ghetto routes. Traveling town of Moshi, located about 150 kilometers from Maiduguri, is not just a journey across distance, it is a journey into a community that has lived under the shadow of insurgency for years. Bordering Cameroon, Moshi has historically served as an important area for communities along the Nigeria-Cameroon border, but the same rugged mountains and cross-border routes that once supported trade have also made the area strategically significant in the fight against insurgent groups operating in the region. Our convoy moves cautiously along dusty and damaged roads, cutting through communities that have witnessed some of the most intense moments of the conflict in Nigeria's northeast. For journalists reporting from the front line with its own risks and response, every abandoned settlement fight against insurgency is still ongoing. As we approach Woshe, the scars of past attacks become visible. Bone structures, deserted homes, and quiet tension that lingers in communities once overrun by insurgents.
As you can see, unlike the hype that is going on social media that the camp has been abandoned, they have almost 600 soldiers here on the ground as we speak, and they've been able to bring additional political combat. So our top focus now is to make sure that these areas return fully.
But beyond the destruction, there are also signs of resilience. Soldiers maintain their positions, communities gradually rebuilding, and a shared determination to ensure that life eventually returns to normal. For a reporter, journeys like these are not just assignments. They are moments that reveal the human stories behind headlines. 2 days after the Boko Haram have captured the Woshe community, they released a propaganda video where they took a vow to celebrate the Eid prayers here in this community. They call thanks to the Nigerian military for reclaiming the community area in Woshe. Sani Adamu, Arise News.
Nigeria is once again confronting hard questions this week. Worsening insecurity, deepening political fractures, and growing uncertainty about the country's democratic trajectory. The crisis within the People's Democratic Party shows no clear end in sight, even as latest defections to the African Democratic Congress and the ruling APC raise fresh questions about the future of opposition politics. At the same time, a new amendment moved by the House of Representatives has reignited debate over the direction of Nigeria's electoral reforms. Beyond our borders, escalating tensions involving the United States, Israel, and Iran are again testing the authority and relevance of the United Nations in maintaining global order. These are the issues shaping the headlines, and the stakes could not be higher. Well, to help us assess this week at Wars, I'm joined now in the studio by the political analyst Ibrahim Baldigu, Arise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper, Mahmoud Jega, and the professor of law and director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, Dr. Sam Amadi. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Let's start on the security front, and I'll start with you, Ibrahim. The Nigerian military has lost at least 3 commanding officers following attacks by Boko Haram and ISWAP within a 7-day period in Borno State, bringing to 7 the number of commanding officers and 1 brigadier general reportedly killed within the last 3 months. The question to ask here is, what is really happening if soldiers are being attacked? If soldiers are not safe, who then is?
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be on this panel with Dr. Amadi, Professor, and my big brother, who coincidentally we worked in the same media space, the editors where I was the first. Now, having said this, when you look at the issue of security under globalization and multiculturalism, Nigeria is under no illusion as to the problems of security confronting this nation. Whether we like it or not, we're in serious war, we're in serious trouble. Now, for the Boko Haramites, they have started just like child's play. And now it has become a big monster that could no longer be controlled. It is a sad commentary, a sad tale to tell in the history of security, in the history of our developmental projects as Nigerians, in the history of our peace and tranquility of the nation of which we are. Now, if you look at, to me, as at the moment, I do not think that this government has a wherewithal, or it has even the template to be able to control the menace of these bandits, terrorists that have been terrorizing this country. From every parameter of Nigeria's life, there's always been one issue or the other. There is nowhere in Nigeria that is now, except maybe in Azorok. But every day you hear bandits overrunning the military barracks, killing officers, dealing with civilians, capturing people, getting into the bushes with people, and then securing ransom. My heart bleeds standing today for this country, for the mere fact that you've not been able to, think out of the box, to look at the issues dispassionately. So for now, I think there's a need for us to broaden the spectrum of discussion with a view to looking at the frontiers, looking at the objective as to what to do. To me, as it is today, the security architecture of this country seems to be focusless, seems to be clueless, and in a state of confusion.
Focusless, clueless, instead of confusion. That's too hard on the government or the regime. Still on the questions of this Dr. Amadi being killed during another assault on a military base in Jakana, Borno State. Now, the question here is that reportedly they bought armored vehicles, carted away ammunition. Killing soldiers is one thing, but cutting away ammunition is a totally different ballgame. Because then they have the weapon to be able to fight back. What should the military be doing about this incessant attacks and particularly cutting away ammunition?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm not a strategist, but I'm a policy strategist. So I could say straight away that there seems to be no clarity as to assessment of the risks and the challenges we are facing. I mean, the reason why APC came to power was largely that PDP failed, quote unquote, failed to arrest the trend of terrorism in security. Nigeria was, listed as one of the most fragile terrorist countries in the world. And so even instead the APC government, starting from President Buhari, would have had a clarity as to the level of threats that face. So if, for example, after 8 years and more, going to 10 years, we are not seeing diminution of the threats, we're not seeing strategic leadership in terms of overcoming, and then it becomes sporadic, then that tends to turn around clarity as to first assessment of risk and the strategy of we have deployed to manage it. Like sitting back and saying, where are these terrorists seeming to be stronger or trying to challenge critically the military? It could be several factors. One of the things that's clear is that the leadership has promised, overpromised, and under-delivered. When Christopher Osek was appointed to replace the Minister of Defense, the impression was that we're getting a swashbuckling general who understands what it takes to win this war. And after many months, people are still raising eyebrows whether, where the new strategy. So for me, as somebody who's not a soldier, or somebody who understands campaigns, let's forget that leadership and strategy came from military. Campaigns are the same. There's tools of getting to differ. You have to have clarity as to the level of risk you face. We have to also have clarity and commitment to vanquishing the enemy. What I see, the Nigerian leadership are
just be conflicted around the definition. So we start with who is the terrorist? What are our objective towards them? How do we categorize them? And so when you hear things like maybe the NSA saying some of our brothers, then there's a moral complexity for him because you cannot deal maximum violence as the military. I mean, this is we're not talking with American concept, but when the Minister of Defense talked about the Department of War, and one of the things I like in the theory is that lethality. The reason why we're the military is that we must be later and we must deal with the enemy straightforward. So if we can define who the terrorist is, I will see the terrorist as one of us and our brother or sister, whether in the southeast or south or somewhere. They're not going to as a state very clear and decisive
on how to deal with
So
it.
for me, the first problem is lack of clarity as to diagnosis, definition of problem, assessment of what to do, and clear objective of how to deal with it. So we have
four clear points there. Well shelled out, I must say. I mean, if you're listening now, you have four clearly iron. Because someone said if you're not planning, if you don't plan, you're going to fail. I mean, planning takes the first place. Former director of the SS, Senator Mike Ejiofor, you know him. He says these killings are worrying and should be indeed. For him, there are short and long-term measures required to address the country's security. Short-term, citizens' participation, volunteer credible information to security agencies. Long-term, establishment of state police, which the president is bullish on. I don't know your views on what Mike Ejiofor can say.
I think the way the situation has developed, even if we establish state police, it will take a very long time before they will be able to make a mark on our fight against all this criminality. Even the military, which is 10 times better trained and armed and equipped than the police, is unable, as we can see, to really get hold of the situation. So in the long run, state police will help because there will be more familiarity and community involvement and also maybe a decentralized kind of response mechanism, but that will all take time. But specifically about the recent upsurge, especially in Borno State, you see what I was wondering, for Boko Haram to be able to move large bodies of insurgents to attack 3 military forward operating bases more or less simultaneously, overrun them, and even kill the commanding officers, it suggests that there was total failure of intelligence. Couldn't the aerial intelligence platforms identify them? Borno is not a heavily forested place like Akwa Ibom or anywhere. It's a flat land with sparse trees and all that. Nobody saw large bodies of insurgents moving to ambush and attack army forward operating bases. Okay, apart from the electronic and aerial platforms, how about human intelligence? I thought by now we would have had people in the communities equipped and trained to transmit quick intelligence to the security forces and say, look, these bandits are moving. As I have seen, there is one platform, a WhatsApp platform in Zamfara State that put me as a member. I don't know why. But you see, even later,
I don't know why.
Well, I don't know how to do it. But even late at night, you see them saying, people have reported seeing bandits moving from so-so village to so-so village. Please, security forces, take action. And I understand that the Zamfara Police Command and the Army are all on that platform and they see and they are able to respond if they can. Sometimes they don't. But at least that is something that the communities are getting involved and give this information. Every night, you see it. They say bandits are moving from so-so village to so-so village.
Okay, on that platform.
Yeah, on that platform. It's an open platform. Anybody on the platform will see. and they say that the police commissioner and the army commander and the father, they are all there. Very useful. How come we don't see maybe to have something like that? That a large number of insurgents to attack 3 army forward operating bases simultaneously, and apparently nobody reported because soldiers, I mean, if they are not taken by surprise, they will be able to put up a good fight. I think, I guess, it's not to the point of kill their commander.
Honestly, we'll discuss more because I mean we'll have the PDP matter, we'll have the UN war, we have a House of Reps to be able to look at all this. Maybe one or two more insecurity. I mean, he brought up an issue, and that took me back to the question I raised with Antonobe, General Antonobe. He retired. He was here. Former Chief of Defense Staff Christopher Musa strongly advocated fencing Nigeria's borders with 4 countries to cover security. You mentioned the countries: terrorism and smuggling, using the Saudi, what he called the Saudi Arabia Pakistan borders. Dr. Sam said he's not in defense, he's not come on board, pulled off the military toga, he's now a minister of defense. Atoloba described Nigeria's vast borders as an obstacle to effective control. Is it that we're big? I did ask him. If he marshaled this out, is it that we're big on talk and Lilliputian on action? Why hasn't this been implemented? Would it help? I mean, why hasn't it been implemented? Would it help?
You see, indeed, there's a need for us to break the glass ceilings, the beauty blockings of low-hanging fruits within the cycles of security in this country. If our President Buhari, President
is late now.
Yes. So rest in peace. If our President Bola Tinubu, honestly and sincerely, first and foremost, I would have started the National Security Advisor, because for very obvious reasons, he has failed. Even the security architecture itself has failed. If somebody is failing exams, will he continue graduating up to the time that he reaches PhD? No. If he fails, let him go.
Looks like we don't have that we don't think about removing people when things are not working well.
You see, that's our major advantage. Now, secondly, for me, there are some fundamental steps to take. One, why are we not using technology?
He talked about surveillance to drone surveillance.
Yes, apart from even drone surveillance, assuming without considering that our military is equipped with state-of-art materials, is it not possible, or don't they have, let's say, a surveillance camera that could capture around, the vicinity of the military control situation in those areas?
Particularly for the base.
Yes, for the base is about 5 kilometers. So that every time from morning 24 hours, we'll have officers of monitoring, and this is dependent, looking at all the bushes, seeing whatever will come in. Because the governor of Zamfara, Dodelo, told us not long ago that in his office, he see almost everywhere. He said, so for God's sake, can't we use money to be able to look at get technological input, to have a satellite on the vicinity? Secondly, these terrorists, for a very long time, they have been capturing people going into the villages people and then collecting ransom. For God's sake, ransom are being paid. The security know. Don't they have this technological pin that they put into the money to be able to track these people wherever they are?
Okay, doctor, let me just hold you there because you have raised, I wanted to move from security straight to PDP. But he has raised a very pertinent question, which I also brought up. I spoke to Antolawe about this particular issue. I mean, the question of, he said that the government is prioritizing saving people. You remember the Kwara, the schoolgirls that were saving people than prosecuting and arresting terrorists or abductors or who you may call them. And I did ask him, when will Nigeria, like he just mentioned, start prioritizing the people who are causing this mayhem, arresting them and prosecuting them? Because we don't hear anything about it.
Well, I think there are 2 points here. Initially, talk about why is the Minister Advisor still being held out. The question is,
the job is asked to do. You see, we assume that the president or anyone who appoints somebody wants him to perform a particular task. It might be that what the president cares for him is delivery, politics, optics, whatever it is. And so the point I make is that don't always assume that the president is going to do a performance management assessment of staff based on what we would assume would be the job description. So the national security advisor who continues to lose men and officers, whose rhetoric suggests that it's more politicizing security than deal with security, would be off key. But for the president, whose focus is politics and using security management every time to politicize for political capital, that guy is doing a great job. And that gets back to the issue of what we do, kill the criminals or buy out safety for our children. So what the government has been doing is to minimize possibilities of failure. So what we do is, the outcry is that 200 children are in captivity. We pay them, or we pay off, get them out, or we do whatever we do to get them out. Deal with the problem in the short term, keep the calm down the road, minimize immediate problem, maximize protocol output. They never solve the problem. So
the way you're capturing this thing,
that's how
it
is.
Maximize
to minimize protocol bad outcome now. So nobody gets to the kids and maximize short-term protocol gain. And then in the future, there's no strategic idea about solving the problem. Because you can't solve it. So you manage incompetence by focusing on the optics and minimize outcry. So if you have 1 or 2 children in captivity, the parents are crying, let's pay off 1 billion or 2 billion, 3 billion and get them home.
All right.
And then we feed into the dragon, which is terrorism. They get more arms and they fight less than. But yes, we are headed off the political crisis.
There's a long effect of that problem. Let's move into before I start going into the second. Let's move into the PDP imbroglio. After the second day of Wabara BOT, the party rejected the court appeal judgment nullifying the Ibadan Convention, but then sends up a special committee to immediately interface with the legal team to foster reconciliation. We think the party said the judgment offers a fresh opportunity to strengthen and reaffirm the party. So we gather there are reconciliation talks. What do you make of what the BOT came out with?
See, I saw a report saying the remaining 2 governors in PDP.
Yeah.
Which is one, I think, the Oyo State.
Bauchi and Oyo.
The Oyo governor was the one pushing this idea of reconciliation. And the Bauchi governor said there was no room for reconciliation. Unfortunately, I tend to agree with him because what is there to reconcile? The purpose of the Wike faction is to ruin the PDP so that it will not be able to present a candidate or even any candidates at all in next year's election in the service of President Tinubu's re-election. And Mr. Wike has said so very openly that he is working very hard for President Tinubu's re-election. And the main way he's doing that is to have 1 leg in APC and 1 leg in PDP and sponsor this faction and get these incredible court judgments, nullifying conventions, and INEC apparently is glad to seize on those judgments, and therefore the way things are going. That's why all the governors and the senators are leaving, because the way things are going, it's like PDP will not be available as a platform.
Because that's the fear.
Exactly, and especially first-term governor, and you want to contest for second term, and the platform is not there. Not just governor, even if you want to run for Senate or House or Reps or anything. That's why most of them have gone to APC. They think
or APC.
And those who feel they can't go to APC, especially for some local political reasons, they now all went to APC. So optically, it sounds nice to say, okay, we are offering an olive branch for reconciliation, but really the fact is there cannot be
optical reality.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. We'll go on a break and get back in a bit and continue the PDP imbroglio, and we will tend to run a little bit fast so we can get in all the things that put down here. So you're watching Arise Prime Time. Plenty more still ahead when we return. Don't go away. All right, glad to have you back. You're still watching Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on those talking points of the day. I am indeed Amo. Still with me in the studio. There is my assessment on the biggest stories of the week. I will have Dr. Ibrahim Modibo, PhD Development Communications, Professor of Law and Director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, Sam, and then of course Arise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of the Trust newspaper. Gentlemen, thank you for still being here with me. Now we're still discussing the PDP broader. Ibrahim reports have it that Wike's camp of the PDP and the remaining governors of the party, he mentioned that Makinde and Mohammed, holding marathon meetings to finalize modalities and conditions for reconciliation. Turaki faction says anything to safeguard the party is welcome. For as long as the party is allowed to function as a true position and present a candidate for 2027. But listen to what Wike says. He says they are negotiating, his own camp, he says they are negotiating from a position of strength. So, what do you make of, again, the reconciliation efforts based on what I just read up to you?
You see, Mr. Andy, let us not deceive ourselves. PDP is Wike's company. It is its private enterprise. Whatever he wants to do with it, he's finding the leeway to do it. Whether by accident or by design or death of destiny. We've seen how PDP has been emasculated, PDP has been strangled, PDP has been turned into a kind of, I don't know what adjective to use again, because it seems as if it's a total collapse of the party that wants to turn the Committee of Nations as the biggest, the brightest, and the most formidable political party
in
Sub-Saharan Africa. Now, we've seen an undertaker who has already
geopolitical stuff going on around the world. Keir Starmer, UK Prime Minister, is live in London giving updates on the ongoing matters in Iran and what the UK is doing about it. Let's listen.
Options are, as I say, mine hunting systems of ours already in the region. We've already spoken about what we can do in relation to anti-drone capability, but this isn't just about what the UK can do, it's about how we play a part in bringing others together behind a viable plan. So that's where we're at the moment. Well, we're looking through the options. It is difficult, of course, it's difficult, there's no hiding that, but that's what we're working on in terms of a viable plan, because ultimately we need to get the straits opened, otherwise the price of energy will remain very high for business that everybody understands. So it's part and parcel of what we're doing on the cost of living. In relation to Mandelson, look, the independent advisor has looked at the tail end of last week at the process we went through, and he said it wasn't the proper process. Look, the process wasn't strong enough, and that's why last year I moved to strengthen the process, and we'll strengthen it again. My reflection is the process wasn't strong enough, the process was followed. Was the process strong enough? No, it wasn't. Now, I recognise that back in September, when the Bloomberg emails came to light, and it was then that I started the process of strengthening it, and will continue to do so. Thank you, Robert. Beth, can I come to you?
Thank you. Beth Tiny, as Prime Minister, people are worried sick at the prospect of their energy bills going up by £300 or more after June. The Conservative government back in 2022 capped bills for all households through an energy price cap. It cost about £40 billion. You're not going to do this, are you? Can you just level with people that wealthier households are going to have to suck some of this up? And on the Mandelson files, your National Security Advisor said the process was, quote, weirdly rushed. And Mandelson was appointed before developed vetting had been complete. You told MPs in the House of Commons that due process was followed. Is there a possibility that you have misled the House when you said that? Thank you.
No, an independent advisor looked at that very question, I think, on Thursday or Friday of last week, and answered it very robustly that the process had been followed. The process wasn't strong enough. And amongst the changes that I intend to put into place is the fact that you can't announce someone until the vetting is finished. It wasn't an individual decision in the Mandelson case, that was the process. Well, you only have to look at that in the light of the appointment to realise that that needs to take a long due process. The process was there, was followed. The problem was the process wasn't strong enough. But ultimately, it was my mistake, and I have apologised for that, quite right too. In relation to the wider point about energy bills, because I do know how worried people will be about this, and as I said, I've been to a number of community centres across the country where you could feel that, and I'm not surprised. We're not ruling anything out, but it is very difficult to say at this juncture what the position will be in July, which is when the current energy cap runs out, or what the position will be in September. And obviously our focus at the moment is de-escalating, dealing with the straits, and trying to find a way to limit the impact. My instinct is always to help working people in a situation like this, hence the energy price cap that we put in place. In fact, reducing energy bills, which is one of the measures of the budget, and making sure that is held until June, work we've done on those that heat their homes through oil, which was a real cause for concern. Particularly in the tail end of last week when people were beginning to fill up their tanks and they could feel for themselves. And this is an area where, in addition to what we can do through the money we've been putting in today, and whether it's that or petrol, I'm absolutely determined to clamp down on anybody who may think that ripping others off in a situation like this. I've heard too many stories of deliveries being cancelled in order for the price to go up. Have to clamp down on that sort of ripping off. But I'm not going to say to you now, because so much is unknown, what we might do in July. We are going to have to do what we can do now to de-escalate, keep this all under review. As soon as it's necessary to say anything further, I will obviously do so, but it's simply not sensible to say that in a number of months' time, not knowing what the situation will be, that the following will be ruled in or ruled out. So that's the approach that we're taking. Thank you, Beth. Can I go to Andy at Channel 5?
Thank you, Prime Minister. Andy Bell, 5 News. So initially you said no to the President when he wanted to reduce UK bases for the first wave. It feels like now you're saying no again to sending certainly any kind of shipping to open up the Gulf. Are you basically saying to him, there is no military way of opening up the Straits of Hormuz? We have to go for de-escalation, and presumably you must be getting worried now that your relationship with the President is getting pretty frayed.
Well, just to go through this in order, I said no to get involved in the initial offensive action and getting drawn into the war, and I stand by that decision. As I said a moment ago, many people criticised me heavily for that decision and indicated that they would have rushed into the war, only, in my view, for them to backpedal a week or two later when they saw the consequences of what action they would have taken had they been Prime Minister. In relation to the defensive action, whether it's what we're doing in the region, have been doing since the few hours after the conflict started, or whether it's the use of our bases, that is in collective self-defence of our people in the region and our bases. The Strait of Hormuz is then a separate discussion, and it is a discussion. We're not at a point of decisions yet, and I want to really stress that. It is obviously a difficult question, that goes without saying, in relation to how you safeguard maritime traffic through the straits. Everybody knows the geography and the risks. But we are working and discussing that with the US, with Gulf partners and with the Europeans. And I discussed that yesterday with President Trump in the way we often discuss things. So that's where we're at on that. There are no decisions having been made. It'll have to be something which is agreed by as many partners as possible, is my strong view. And we're not at that stage yet, but we are working hard. I discussed it with President Trump yesterday in the way that you would expect, between two allies, and 2 leaders. And as soon as there's more to report, I will make sure we have that. Thank you, Andy. I've got Chris Hope from News. Chris.
Prime Minister, GP viewers are very, very worried about petrol prices, so you might understand. They don't understand why you won't open up oil and gas fields to try and bring down the cost, mitigate that against, of course, the dash to net zero. Why not open up those oil and gas fields? And just on the special relationship, if 1 is bad and 10 is good, how would you rank your special relationship right now with Donald Trump?
Well, in relation to, I do know how anxious your viewers and everybody else will be in relation to their energy bills, because there's a conflict going on. They will have their own views and worries about the extent of that conflict. And many are worried that it escalates rather than de-escalates. I'm clear we need to de-escalate. In relation to their bills in the here and now, we are taking measures to protect them. I want to just make that clear for all your viewers, because for the next 3 months, their bills will come down and be held down, and they need that reassurance, because some are worried that they're going to go up next week or next month. That won't happen. Obviously, we'll have to keep under review what happens elsewhere. If they're oil-based, and some of your viewers will be, the announcement I made today is to give them help with that, because already their bills are going up and they're not within, or they wouldn't otherwise be within the scheme. On oil and gas in the North Sea, obviously that's going to be part of the mix, so there's no difference of position there. We did make progress on what's called tiebacks. Your viewers may have seen that or not, but that basically allows further access into oil and gas in the North Sea, so that's already in place. But the question I'm answering or trying to address sometimes is what are the measures that are actually going to take money off bills now or in the foreseeable future? And that is by ensuring that we've got a better mix of renewables and that we go to renewables. And there's no denying, because we've seen this firsthand now. We saw it in Ukraine, we saw it in the 12 Days War, we're seeing it again now. If you're on the international market for oil and gas, you're vulnerable to the price going up on the international market, because we, the UK, have little control over that. And North Sea Oil doesn't give us control over that, because we sell onto the market. What gives us control is renewables, our own homegrown energy, which is more secure and more independent, which is why I think that we should go further and faster in relation to renewables. Let's get control of our own energy, so that whatever's happening on the world, we control what's happening in this country. And I think for many people, they'd say, by whatever means you do it, get control of energy, so I don't have to keep worrying that my bills are going to go up and down. I want to get to that place as quickly as possible, Chris. Thank you very much. Oh, look, I mean, it's a good relationship. We had a good discussion yesterday about the constraints, as you would expect. We're strong allies, have been for decades. But it is for me to act in what I consider to be the best interests of Britain. And I have to keep that uppermost in my mind. And it is interesting, for want of a better word, that those that 2 weeks ago were urging us to go headlong into the full-blown war are beginning to have second thoughts about that. There's reason for that. The problem, as I pointed out to the Leader of the Opposition last Wednesday, is if you're Prime Minister, you don't get to come back a week later and say, oops, I made a mistake about that war, can I back out of it now? You have to make the decision that you genuinely believe is in the best interest of the British people from the get-go. Thank you, Chris. I've got Matthew Gay.
Prime Minister. Matthew Gay, Quick Swift Person Finance. Life is about to get a lot more expensive than the UK due to what's going on abroad. Food and petrol are already going up, and energy bills past the price cap could also be seeing an increase, which a lot of people can't afford. So the government likely have two options: either do some of the stuff that you've already mentioned and find ways to cut these bills, or get more money into people's pockets. So with regards to the latter, how is the government planning to help people?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Both are really important, because we are taking measures to keep bills down, and that's why I can say that energy bills will be cut and capped for 3 months. At the same time, we need to make sure more money goes into people's pockets. That's why we've done a lot of work on things like the minimum pay, to make sure that goes up, as it will go up in April, so people have got more money in their pockets. It's very important that we point out that wages are going up higher after this government. They went up the first 10 years of the last government, because it will be a question of, for most people, how much am I getting in on a monthly basis, and can I meet the bills that I've got to pay on a monthly basis. And just to be clear, because I do think this is important, when I was growing up, we didn't have enough money in my house to pay our bills. So I know what that feels like, to be around the kitchen table really worried. And I do genuinely know that there are many people across the country who are having those conversations today, who are really worried about it. And that's why it's important that I reiterate that my instinct, my first priority, is to do whatever we can to protect them, whether that's cutting or holding bills, or whether it's making sure they've got more money in their pocket in the first place. Thank you so much. I've got Jason throws Daily Mail. Jason.
Thanks, Graham. Can I ask you a couple of questions about petrol? You've talked a bit about profiteering. At the moment, obviously, the Treasury is getting a big windfall from VAT on petrol. Every 5p it goes up, they get another penny. Shouldn't you be giving that money back? And then, secondly, Nick Butler, who you may know, who's called around at BP, he was out this morning saying we could be facing petrol rationing in a couple of months. What sort of preparations are you making for that?
Well, on both those issues, on fuel duty, that is being held till September. And yeah, that's held till September. And I know people are urging me, what are you going to do after September? But that is 6 months away. There's obviously a lot of change that could happen in that period. And we need to keep the situation under review, and we will keep the situation under review. In relation to the supply of energy, obviously we're taking all necessary measures to make sure there is the right supply of energy. It's really important that we do so, and it will always be a mix of oil and gas and renewables. We're actually using more renewables now than we were in 2022, which is helping in relation to supply, but we'll keep that under constant review. Thank you, Jason. I've got Millie from The Independent.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Millie Cook from The Independent. Pat McFadden this morning appeared to play down Trump's warning that the future of NATO would be very bad if we don't send warships to the Strait of Hormuz, describing it as rhetoric from the President. How concerned are you about the breakdown of the NATO alliance, and would you agree with Mr. McFadden that Trump's threats are just rhetoric?
Well, firstly, we are working with others to come up with a credible plan for the Strait of Hormuz to ensure that we can reopen shipping and passage through the Strait. Let me be clear, that won't be, and it's never been envisioned to be, a NATO mission. That'll have to be an alliance of partners, which is why we're working with partners both in Europe, in the Gulf, and with the US. It's important that we continue that. It is not straightforward, and you can see that historically and there's been other conflicts that have affected the Straits. But I do think that working with others, including the US, is the way to go forward. And I had a perfectly good discussion with President Trump about that yesterday. And of course, as you'd expect, we are talking to the US at all levels all the time. And whether it's the US, whether it's Europe, those Gulf partners, we are trying to pull together both partners and a plan in relation to the Straits. Thank you very much. Let me go to George Parker, FD.
Thank you, Prime Minister. You said earlier that you simply won't allow companies to make huge profits from the hardship of working people, and you said that in the context of windfall taxes in the past. So I just wondered whether you were suggesting that if they carry on, as you've seen with this bad behaviour, a windfall tax or a higher windfall tax is a possibility. And secondly, taking you back to something you said right at the start, you said the longer this war goes on, the more dangerous it becomes. I just wondered if you could clarify what you mean by that, and whether you feel the President shares your concerns.
Well, in relation to windfall tax, obviously there was a windfall tax in place, and we continued and extended that. You can see in a circumstance like this why it's so important that we did so. And that's the argument I made in 2022, and it's the argument I make now. Obviously, it is important that we work with the oil and gas sector, and that's why we've taken a number of measures, including the tie-back provisions that we put in place just a few months ago. In relation to the broader words, the longer it goes on, the higher the risk of escalation, and the bigger the impact on the economy and energy prices, and hence on the cost of living for families across the country. And that is why, in addition to the self-defence actions that we're taking, in addition to the work and discussions are going on in relation to the Strait of Hormuz, and we do need to keep working for de-escalation. In the end, however it comes about, there is going to have to be a negotiated settlement of some sort. We mustn't lose sight of that. We must talk to our allies about that, and we do. Obviously, we had a G7 call last week. I spoke to the President over the weekend, but I'm clear in my mind that the longer it goes on, the more difficult it becomes, and therefore I'm doing everything I can to work best, which is to work with our allies, whether that's the US, Europe, and slightly word of field English and Willie, to bring about that end. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. There was a nation living in peace and unity. Yeah. They are people with love and harmony. Oh, yeah. They saw greatness rise up to its purity. With another people of different culture, Nigerian heritage, bias and oppressive. Oh, I see. A nation from trigger of Africa, rising with strength and might and power. In due time, nobody gonna praise us. Rather, you all gonna embrace her. With your flag, with your flag, with your flag, with your flag. Oh, yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. Oh yeah, Biafra is our home. Oh, it's my home. Yeah, Biafra is our home.
I reminisce way back 1967. Death toll on the blood, couldn't count them even. Mama screaming, child squealing, pops on the ground. 2.5 years, over 3 million's gone. Why? Cause we asked for our freedom, and we're going back to our sovereign kingdom. They shut us down when we cried, the world said nothing. Sitting back in the crib, watching our suffering. Should I talk about the planes dropping shells like rain? Suka had the first taste of a hero's blood. Abagana Zobuni wave was stronger than flood, but the juke is too strong and fought them off on the chart. Thought the bloodshed's gone, then it came again. 216 and the massacre, it started again. So bloody name, I couldn't cry tears. Blood dripping down my eyes, water in my veins. We died trying to fight the cause and we're trying to break him. It's our freedom, but the world was against us.
Wave your flag over Africa. Welcome people of Biafra. Wave your flag over all the world. See those people of Zion is here.
It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion. It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. Yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home.